call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable laws. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by viewing the Duxbury Government Access channels, Verizon 639 or Comcast 9. Viewers can visit www.pactv.org/Duxbury for information about Duxbury programming, including streaming on Duxbury YouTube, to watch replays and video on demand. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okie dokie. The next order of business is open forum. And if anybody has anything they'd like to bring up to be put on a future agenda or just to let us know about it, this would be the time. Anybody? Brian?
Briefly, Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge the town's HR department and town manager's office on Friday. They put together an employee appreciation event, coffee, donuts, that sort of thing, for an hour or so. Invited folks from all over the town. It was a pretty good turnout. Fernando had a chance to attend. I had a chance to stick my head in. Lots of smiles. We have lots of people working in town who do great work, and I appreciate that there was at least a brief opportunity to thank them in person by having them come in for just a short thank you. And then the other thing I just wanted to
just mention that the donuts were really healthy.
They were huge. They were the size of bagels.
I was avoiding the donuts myself.
Yeah. And the other thing I just want to note, Madam Chair, is tomorrow I'll be attending at Bridgewater State University. They're holding a cyber range open house. It's to inform municipalities about cybersecurity opportunities that the county is offering. This had previously been scheduled for a day in February, but was rained out or was some weather emergency, so it's rescheduled for tomorrow. So I hope to gather some information and report back.
Interesting. Okay, anybody else? No? I just wanted to, for our long-term list, Rini,
Yes, ma'am.
is to put on a discussion regarding the Girl Scout house.
Okay.
I got a letter from a constituent, so to speak.
We all
And,
got it as well.
Yep, and so I just want to make sure that we get that on to talk about it.
Sure. Do you mind forwarding the letter, if you could, please?
I don't mind at all.
Thank you. Not right now, but when you have them all.
Yep, I will do that.
And then Nancy, could you possibly circulate to all members of the board,
Sure, if
please?
you send it to me, I'll send it out to
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anybody in the audience have anything for open forum? Okay. The first order of new business then is the discussion pertaining to the town manager evaluation process and documents. And I think, who's talking about this? Fernando?
Yeah. So to kind of kick off the meeting, what I'll do is I'll share some context, the frame by which we had the discussion, and the process enhancements that you've seen in the document in front of you. So context, that's the request of the Select Board Chairperson, yourself, Cindy. Brian, Rini, and I, Jeannie and I, were tasked with enhancing the existing town manager performance evaluation and merit award process, and especially the link between performance rating and merit award. You remember the last conversation, we had a conversation about performance, but the merit had already been awarded, right? So we needed to get that right. So the frame by which we looked at all this, right? So we looked at the existing performance evaluation cycle and the Hello Team evaluation template. We also reviewed the town manager's current employment contract, the Town Manager Act, and open meeting law requirements. We also checked in with Labor Council as well as we developed the document, all right, to ensure that we were in full compliance. So we did have a numerous amount of meetings. There was great discussion. And in the end, I think all four of us are pleased with the outcome and the final product we'll be discussing and voting on tonight. I did text with Amy, and she's happy. She's okay with us to vote on it tonight. And I did mention to her this, something that Brian and I and Jeannie and Rennie haven't covered. And we can always, it's a living document. We can always come back and discuss it, right? So I think I feel confident that we've got it pretty well tied up. But if there's something that we've missed, we can always, like I said, open it up, discuss it again. So the process enhancements, right? Number one, we developed a performance evaluation and merit award cycle calendar that lays out a clear timeline, responsibilities, and deliverables for all involved in the process. That was key. Second, we've updated the job performance evaluation form to make it easier for the select board to assess performance and provide feedback. So the first step in there is that you've seen in the second document, we've got 4 or 5 descriptors of what we're looking for in terms of evaluation areas that Renee, as a town manager, should be assessed on, all right? And the nice thing about it is that the first step will be that Rennie will go ahead and do a self-evaluation. And so we will get that, and we'll be able to look at that, and we'll be able to have a good conversation. We can also test it. We can have conversation with other members of the town staff to kind of feel comfortable, so we can talk about it. We can verify it. So I think it's a great it's an enhancement of the existing process. So what's really cool, we've also we've added goals and objectives for the town manager, and these will be established at our first meeting after the town elections, right? Once we've got the new board in place, we will have a discussion around what is the objectives and goals that we see. Could be short-term, could be long-term, and we will vote on those, and then they in turn will translate and become part of Renee's, our town manager's goals and objectives for that year, and then thereafter, as we vote on. All right. So that was a missing. Again, that's been added into the process. And then the other piece is that. So what's fully aligned now is the performance evaluation and merit award cycle calendar, with the budget and payroll cycle, as well as linking the performance rating with the merit award. So when we sit down. If you look at the process, Rennie will fill out a self-evaluation. We will take a look at it. We all need to have a chat with Rennie, right? And then we put it all together. And then Cindy, you compile it, you share it, and then we vote on it. And then that is linked at that meeting. We will understand that rating, how it will translate into his merit. So merit won't be awarded beforehand. It'll be awarded and finalized at that meeting, when we vote on his performance evaluation, his performance, and then we'll allocate the merit, right? Because there'll be a chart, a template, or mathematical calculation which will kind of fit in there, and that's kind of standard process in anywhere that you go where you have organizations. And then, as I said, last piece, it conforms with and meets requirements as defined in the Town Manager Act, employment contract, an open meeting law, and finally with our Labour Council. So I think if you read through it, I think it's the work that Brian and Jeannie and Rennie and I did. I think you'll find it's certainly, there was a process established, but there were some enhancements needed, and I think we've come up with a pretty good product.
But it won't be me. Could be a new.
Oh, there'll be a new chair, right? But you'll need to, because you'll be involved in the process, you'll need to do it before you hand over.
I don't know.
Don't know. Oh, wait. I got it wrong, the dates. The dates are in there. So it'll be the new chair, Mike.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
don't count your chickens.
Yeah.
Don't count your
I know.
chickens.
Could be somebody else.
Could
Yeah.
be somebody else. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
The is for this timeline is it anticipated that on that March 18th or 25th meeting, that we would have this policy discussion about our goals, and is that
That's-
part of this timeline?
Yes.
That's not on the timeline.
It's not on the timeline, but it is what will happen.
So you're going to do the
Because
goal.
we have only a couple of meetings is the problem, and I know we have a lot on our
Oh, yeah,
plate.
but that first meeting is we vote on the new members or the new structure of the board, and we will set time aside to go ahead and it's really
Do this.
important that we, as a board, that we establish what our
Right.
goals and policies are.
It's an important to Rainey as well to
Exactly.
understand.
So we're going to do
Yeah.
the goals for next year before we do the evaluation for last year.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
That's just a point of clarification
yes,
on it.
correct. We can add that. We can add that to the first document, just for,
Yeah, just for clarification, the first meeting after the
yep,
town election.
yep, we can add that.
Excuse me. You guys have done a great job, and it looks very complete. Brian, I know you worked on this. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I just wanted to thank Fernando for his leadership on this. And it wasn't a simple task. It was certainly a lot of focus went into this, and Jeannie was a huge help in pulling together all the pieces. Certainly, as Fernando pointed out, it wasn't just the Town Manager Act and just being aware of what our obligations are to oversee the town manager, but there's also a contract that we had to go through as well with the town manager. And just one point of clarification is with the goals and objectives, for the goals themselves, those per the contract are by agreement. So we can't necessarily, even if we decide there are going to be 5 goals, A through E, we can't just throw them at Rainey and say, you must achieve these. It's going to be by agreement. Assuming we agree, then they become official goals. And that's a consequence of his employment contract that says the goals have to be by agreement. And that doesn't affect performance. That's a separate component, is how he did. So we have 2 components, as Cindy, as you picked up on it. One is backward-looking, how'd you do this past fiscal year? And the other is forward-looking, what is it that we want to accomplish? Through Rainey, what does this board want to accomplish for the upcoming year? And that's the part that'll be by agreement. But overall, it was a very enlightening process for sure. And we were able to narrow down a number of issues that I don't think had squarely been addressed before, such as what should the real definitions of performance be? Category 1, 2, 3, 4. What does that really mean? Those were streamlined and strengthened. And then something as seemingly simple as how many score points would you
That's
get?
right.
1 through 5, should it be 0 through 9, 1 through 10, 1 through 3? We even had those discussions as well, and you'll see we finally settled upon 1 through 4. And that helped with the math as well, because as Fernando pointed out, when we get to the point where we provide the rating for Rainey, it's a mathematical calculation from the 5 of us
Yep.
that results in a number that then plugs into what is the merit pool
Yep.
and what's available, and that's what the score equates to. So for a number of different reasons, it just made sense to have these 4. And I appreciate everybody's cooperation. I know it took a lot of time, and certainly Rainey was a huge help going through this process. I know it's not fun, everybody talking about your job and all that stuff, but he was the consummate professional, as we've come to expect, certainly, in going through this process. And I think it's a great model going forward
Right.
for the long term.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, were you going to?
I was just going to build on that, by the way. It states in the memo, but this is useful not just for the select board, but this process for the Board of Assessors and the library trustees, right? So they now have a template by which they can use for their respective manager
Yeah.
that reports to them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, I see at the bottom, are these goals, town manager goals, are these things that Rainey's already set as his goals for the coming year? And I see him nodding.
I think we.
And then we get to say, well,
I think the first one is basically, that's Rennie. Again, this is by, we
I mean, this is
reached
part of the process.
for the process, right? But we need to reach, obviously, agreement. So
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's a good idea for that. For the management, when we're walking around, these were the first two goals that Rennie wanted to have in there. I think, we can, well, Brian and I thought they were pretty good, but we've got to agree with that as a board. But I just put an example in for fiscal year '26, was the establish a task force to develop a process to address the possible challenges. That was a bit of
Okay,
word
so the-
speaking there, right?
So
For-
will this be the discussion at the meeting on
Yes.
at the end of the month?
Correct.
But we
So-
can add to this.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
and
We
just-
can add to this.
Correct.
So the first two are goals that Randy put in.
Yep.
And the third was one that you put in.
Correct.
Okay.
'Cause
I just want to make
yeah.
sure that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And these are just examples, and we need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
discuss
yeah,
them
yeah,
without-
okay.
These are
All
examples,
right.
okay.
Correct.
Jeannie, hi.
Hi, if I can just interject.
Yeah. No,
Jeannie
just add.
Oh, all right.
Add.
I'd like to add. Jeannie Horn, Human Resources Director, 7 Buckboard Road. So it was a great process. We had some spirited conversations, and it was a great way. We're already doing a lot of what we enhanced, but it was a great way for the select board to really roll up their sleeves and understand what the process is, and we improved upon it. I just want to clarify, my understanding is that at the meeting on March 25th, when we kind of reorganized the select board, that's the meeting where the select board sets their own goals for
Yep.
the year. Subsequent to that meeting, as part of the performance evaluation process, Rainey will set his goals and propose, and so basically the select board will subsequently propose goals, and Rainey will propose goals as part of the performance evaluation process. But we thought strategically and organizationally, it was imperative that the select board set their goals and it'll just be an automatic thing every year, every time following the election, the first meeting following the election, the select board will set their goals. Then the town manager will have direction, and then the town manager can give direction to all the department heads, and then the department heads can give direction. So it's a waterfall cascading effect, and that's how we're all going to be rowing in the same direction organizationally for the upcoming year.
So, just for clarification, so the setting of goals in March 25th this year, is our goals as a board,
Yes,
not our goals for Rainey?
it's your goals as a board.
Okay. And so it's at the discussion of the,
So, right, so it just so happens that the performance evaluation, it doesn't so happen, we aligned the launching of the performance evaluation cycle to occur that same day. So like that Monday, the evaluation cycle will be launched, and through that process, the town manager's personal and board-related goals will be set during the performance evaluation process. So each of you will have the opportunity to come in and meet with, so Rainey will do a self-eval and propose goals.
and that
We'll
happens.
submit that self-eval through Hello Team. Then Hello Team will automatically distribute that self-eval to each one of you.
That's April 5th.
Yes, each one of you will complete your individual evaluation of Rainey and propose goals. Then the Hello Team will automatically consolidate those performance evaluation results into one aggregated result, which can also be granulated by individual. That will be the basis for the performance evaluation discussions that are encapsulated in the process, and that through that process, those goals will be finalized. And then when the board presents your final results as part of the process, those goals will be finalized in that meeting. So as
That's not till
Fernando
May.
said, it'll be kind of it'll be an event, both a look back and a look forward.
So that's going to be a 2-month process before we get to our goals.
Yeah.
Not till the end of May.
Yep. So he'll have and that's the beginning of May. So he'll have from May through April to get those goals done.
Okay.
That's the manager's goals.
The manager's
manager's
goals.
goals.
Manager's goals,
And what
but the,
And the select board will have from March until the next election cycle to get your goals done.
But our goals are whatever we decide are the
Yeah.
priorities, and they're-
Correct.
So I'm just using an example. So
Yeah.
I assume one of our goals is going to be PFAS related.
Correct.
So, and by the way, these goals that we decide after the election can be either short-term or long-term. In fact, I'd like to see us have a couple of goals that go more than 1 year, right? Because we have a lot of big multi-year goals.
PFAS,
So-
for instance.
So PFAS. So, but one of Rainey's performance goals for the year could be some subset of our goal. So like a specific set of tasks or a specific deliverable within PFAS, for example, might end up being Rainey's goal if it's something that's agreed upon. So I think to further upon Jeannie's point, we have our goals, policy of the town. That's going to be in March. Then over the next 8 weeks, 7, 8 weeks or so, we have a process discussion with Rainey as to how those then translate into mutually agreeable action goals for his upcoming performance year.
So really,
makes
it's
sense.
simply putting a finer point on how the work is already getting done. So as a result of this meeting, Rainey has, his body of work stems from these meetings. This will just put a finer point on what his primary goals are so that it's not omnidirectional.
And those aren't the only thing he's going to do for the year.
No.
Those are just specific goals.
That's all I'm doing.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the performance review, there's certainly all these categories that we're covering in the look back for the year earlier, and we grade him, 1 through 4 on how did he do on these specific topics. And in addition to that, how did he do on the goals that we agreed upon?
Right,
Okay.
like how did he perform in his job and how did he perform relative to
Got
the
it.
goals and objectives
Yep.
set by the board?
Yep.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything, Rainey? Okay.
I don't know, it's the
Do you have anything-
first time I'm seeing it.
That's it.
Do you have anything to add, Rainey, to?
No, I'm all good. We're good, thank you.
I think Rennie's sick and tired talking about this.
No, not at all. We've been at it for a few months, but
And
it's
if you're
all
doing
good.
really well, we'll meet again in the fall and adjust those goals. So-
No. His goal is to be done with this process, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
yeah.
this is a.
Okay.
Donuts helped, by the way.
Any questions from our audience? No. Okay.
Oh, shall I be clerk?
Sure. You shall be.
Yeah, I was scrolling back to find them. I got them.
Yeah,
I-
she
I-
does
I-
have
I got them
these if you
digital
wanted
here.
to.
So I move that the select board accept as presented the performance evaluation process memo and the town manager performance evaluation professional development plan process document.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Excellent work.
Here's all the
Okay.
rest of them coming forward. Yes,
Thanks,
thank you
Jeannie.
very much for all of your work on that. It's
Thanks, Rainey.
a great thing. All right. Let's go flying through the next couple of things, I think. There's a discussion about, if I can find it, scroll down, the seasonal liquor license and a common victular and general parking license for Duxbury Beach Park 2. And I'm still scrolling down, so
Right,
hold on.
shall I just-
Yep, just make a motion.
Just go ahead and make a motion. I move that the select board, as the local licensing authority, approve and renew the following seasonal on-premise wine and malt beverages license issued to Duxbury Beach Park 2, license number 00034-RS-0300, effective from April 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024, subject to satisfactory inspection by the town, submission of all required documents, and payments of all funds, fees owed to the town of Duxbury, and the conditions of the license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that the Select Board renew the common victular license and general license for parking issued to Duxbury Beach Park 2 for the year 2024, subject to town inspections, the receipt of all renewal paperwork, and payment of all funds, fees owed to the town of Duxbury.
Second, but I have a question. Can somebody speak to what the parking license is? I'm not familiar with that. I didn't see the materials. The victular license, I understand, but what are we
They're,
licensing?
I think that they collect payment for parking in that parking out there, and so we're giving them the permission to do that.
So is this land that we're licensing or leasing to them, or is it land that they already control and we're just allowing the collection of?
The latter.
Okay, so it's not town land?
No.
Okay, great, thank you.
On the license, I think victular is spelled incorrectly, if you care.
Oh, it's missing an L.
On the license?
I see two.
The
Alcohol.
license, alcoholic beverages, right, a common,
Well, after you have a drink, there's two L's.
it's true.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
That's just,
All in favor?
Aye.
I think that's where we were. All right, then, next is a seasonal liquor license for Duxbury Package Store, Inc. Do you want to?
Yeah, I move that the Select Board, as the local licensing authority, approve and renew the seasonal off-premise all kinds of alcohol beverages license issued to Duxbury Package Store, Inc., license number 00046-PK-0300, effective from April 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024, subject to satisfactory inspection by the town, submission of all required documents, and payments of all fund fees owed to the town of Duxbury and the conditions on the license.
Madam Chair, this is either one motion or the other.
Okay?
The seasonal license typically goes from April 1st to November 30th, but as a local licensing authority, you can extend it to January 15 of the next year. So that would be the second motion, if you want to extend it. It's always been extended. So
What we know,
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, that's fine. All right, so what this is that we are maybe extending the seasonal liquor license, or giving a seasonal liquor license to Duxbury Package Store that runs out November 30th. Is that correct? But we're voting, maybe, to extend them to January
to
15th.
January 15th, if you like, yeah.
I'm always wondering what they're doing between January 15th and April 1st, but,
They have to, well, because our licenses are based on quotas, so we only have this one seasonal off-premise license, and they're required to block off that section. They can't sell. They have a beer and wine license already,
But they can't sell hard alcohol, for want of a better
only
word.
during this time.
Yeah.
all right. So we have to make a decision then if we want to extend them until January 15th. And I guess we need to have a conversation. I'd say sure.
What do we normally do?
Is there anyone here to
Extend
speak to
them.
it?
What?
Is there anyone here to speak to it?
Well, I
No.
can at least let you know that I did check with Jim Wazalewski, Municipal Services, to see if there was any reason why they shouldn't be granted the extension as far as like violations or anything like that. There are none. But historically,
We've always given it to them.
January 15th.
Are there any other businesses that are looking for the same permit? Or
Yes.
if we grant it here, another business may not get it,
No, it's only the quota, we only have one.
and nobody
Yeah.
else has applied for it? In other words, I understand with the quota,
Yeah.
but with respect to the extension, I'm just trying to appreciate that, I mean, I don't have an objection to it, but I just want to make sure that, and since there's nobody here to speak to it one way or the other, that I have an appreciation for what this potentially does adversely to some other party, if at all.
Nobody's ever applied.
What do the other liquor stores typically do?
Year-round, right?
They're all year-round, yeah.
They all have a year-
Year-round beer and wine license, but yeah, nobody else is.
But there are other ones that sell alcohol.
But Brothers sells alcohol all year round, right? Hard
Yeah.
alcohol?
This is the only one that's a seasonal,
Yes,
is
but
what
we
she's
only
saying.
have,
Oh.
As a town, we only have a quota for certain, many licenses based
Right.
on population.
All right,
Got it.
so,
So they're all taken.
Right, so Brothers has the license for all year round for
Yes.
their,
Yes.
what sort of license is that?
It's just
A general alcohol?
all alcoholic beverages
License.
license, annual.
All right, and this is just, we only
This is
have
a
one
seasonal.
seasonal one?
Yes. We have one on premise, which is Blakeman's. They serve
Right.
as a restaurant, and one off premise.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
All right, well, this was confusing. Do you want to grant the extension
Right,
and read that motion?
I think we should,
I
don't you?
think we should.
All right, I move that Select Board, as a local licensing authority, approve and renew the seasonal off-premises all kinds of alcohol beverage license issued to Duxbury Package Store, Inc., license number 00046-PK-0300, effective from April 1st, 2024 through January the 15th, 2025, subject to satisfactory inspection by the town, submission of all required documents, and payments of all fund fees owed to the town of Duxbury, and the conditions on the license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, now we're going to discuss common victular license for Soul Bowl Duxbury and Duxbury House at the Village Memory Care Residence.
There's nobody here
And-
to talk about it, right? So as
No,
well.
and these have been lumped together.
Yes, but if you,
I mean, I don't know, yeah, but they have nothing to do with one another.
no, I
Okay.
just was trying to make it easier.
Thank you for asking my question. Because I couldn't appreciate the
Yeah.
connection between the village and
Yeah, so it's just kind of annual
Sobol.
license
Okay.
approval, so I just put them both together to make
Okay.
it easier.
Either that or more confusing for us. one or the other.
I
All
move
right.
that the Select Board approve the common victular license for Soul Bowl, Duxbury, and the Duxbury House at the Village Memory Care Residence, subject to the satisfactory inspection by the Municipal Services Department and the Board of Health, receipt of all renewal requirements, and payment of all fund fees owed to the town of Duxbury.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mary Lampert, Jim Lampert, Duxbury Nuclear Advisory Committee are here for a discussion regarding evaporation of wastewater at Holtec, Plymouth, and a suggested us sending us a letter to Governor Healy et al.
Yes. Is this on? Mary Lampert, 148 Washington Street, Duxbury, speaking for the Duxbury Nuclear Advisory Committee. We're still involved in Pilgrim's chemically and radioactive contaminated wastewater. This is a seemingly endless discussion, but it changes. The issue is that they have this water inside the reactor building, and the water is useful to them during the decontamination of the interior of the reactor building for shielding purposes. Once the decontamination has been completed inside the reactor building, then they have no longer use for it, and they can go about dismantling the reactor building itself. There are two issues. They actually don't need the water. They could use a sort of a paint substance for shielding, but that would be more money. And also, I think it's important to recognize with the water, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission gives them 4 options. They can discharge it in the bay, they can evaporate it, they can ship it to a licensed off-site facility like Vermont did and like they're doing with all their solid so-called low-level radioactive waste. And those are the essential routes that they can take. They've already gone through their first choice, which is discharging in the bay. With the leadership of the Duxbury Board and activities of people in the community and other communities, we were convinced the Department of Environmental Protection to issue a temporary refusal to allow them to dump it in the bay, which of course is very important and protective of our aquaculture economy and public health, et cetera, safety. But their second choice seems to be evaporation, which in many ways, from their point of view, is the best choice of all, because they don't have to, it's not going to cost them anything, they don't have to pay for filtration, et cetera, et cetera. They, so far, Jim Lampert asked at the last nuclear decommissioning citizen advisory panel meeting how much they've evaporated so far, since they bought it to 2023, and it was 200,000 gallons. Well, since they bought it, 1 million. And so that's a lot of stuff that's gone up into the environment. They have, it varies when you talk to them, but they have between 900,000 and 950,000 left to go. They feel that this is really a good deal because due to the fact that their decommissioning trust fund lost money from investments like everybody else, that they've extended the whole decommissioning period to 8 years. And so certainly within 8 years, and much less time, they would be able to evaporate everything. Natural evaporation, and also they've added heaters to supposedly make it warmer for the workers to work, but the heating obviously accelerates the evaporation. And so this is not clearly in neighbors' interest. It all depends, once it's evaporated, which way the wind's blowing. And clearly the prevailing winds are to the east. And the studies done for Pilgrim during litigation I was once involved in indicated that 60% of the winds blow out to Cape Cod Bay. In the summertime, in the afternoon, you have the inversion, and the winds come in the afternoon back on shore. However, it would seem in everybody's interest that, and recognition that when they blow over the water, and when the wind slows down, what happens to the deposition? It drops into the water. And so we're sort of right back to where we started, and our original objection that it was a violation of the Ocean Sanctuaries Act, number one, and a violation of endangered species, that we have very solid argument to say to the governor and to the Secretary of Environmental Affairs and DEP, this doesn't make any sense. We'd like you to take some action, hopefully to stop it, because you were opposed and have taken action, we hope will be permanent, to move forward. And also, Holtec announced that they were they had full intention of appealing if DEP does issue a final determination that they can't dump. And so it's the same issue done in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And so, again, it would be terrific if you'd consider sending a letter by email. It doesn't cost anything. And I can help get the ball rolling.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
There's somebody actually doing a study in the neighborhood, is that correct?
Right. Yes. Because of this, a group of doctors and have become very interested in the whole issue. And there's one at Harvard School of Public Health, one at Mass General, and one at Boston College. And they would like to begin, they have a smaller grant now, apply for a larger grant to study the pattern of radiation-linked disease, number one, in communities that would have been impacted. It would include Duxbury also. And to take dust samples. I offered my house for the dust samples. And urine samples to determine any impact. They are not only focused initially on Pilgrim, but they're hoping to have enough funds to take a representative sample of reactors interested in the millstones, for example, to get a study. And in part, this was kicked off just as an aside because the National Academies of Sciences were initially charged to do such a study of 6 representative reactors. And however, this was canceled, and I would say a rather devious way, by the current federal administration by saying, well, we've got to see whether it's cost effective, and we will put HHS, Health and Human Services, in charge of deciding and putting together a group to decide whether to go forward with the study after all. And they did have a meeting, but they failed to invite the National Academies of Sciences, and they voted not to do the study. And people have opined that it's probably because there is a push for the administration to move forward in nuclear power. And if the National Academies got the wrong answer, that would be counterproductive.
Interesting.
So that was interesting.
Interesting. All right.
So if anyone has a dusty house, I'll let you know.
Me.
If you have any questions, I noticed Ben Cronin is here and Jim Lampert's there, and maybe they could clarify anything or answer any questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good letter. Who's got questions?
For me, it's very self-explanatory, so yeah, I've got no questions. Reads well.
Is there a place where we could get more information about the science behind how the contaminants could be, when they evaporate, whether they spread and become less concentrated and could potentially cause less harmful effects if they're over a greater area? I know we heard about at a previous meeting about how the bay is a shelf and it kind of recycles itself back. But I just wonder if there's a counterpoint to this about how, if it does go into the atmosphere, it goes in various directions for greater distances and might cause less harmful effects.
Well, there is one response that dilution is not the solution, but one would have to have very specific meteorological data to be able to determine, and looking back, what the wind currents were at X time, and then match that with the monitoring of what has come out. The licensee, Holtec, has some monitoring, but not real time on the vent. So we do not have all the monitoring information that we would like. One could go back and get some meteorological data. That is, I think, why the doctors, particularly the one at Harvard School of Public Health, Petros, what's his last name? Do you remember?
Koutrakis.
Whatever, it's irrelevant.
Petros Koutrakis.
Yeah, Koutrakis. Thank you. Is interested in doing dust samples urine samples, et cetera, to try to get a clearer indication on what the impact would be.
Sounds like
of
unfortunately, we
the,
wouldn't know the impact until it happened.
Then that
too
is
late.
difficult because it takes a while for the blood cancers and others to
Right.
cook,
We don't want-
if you
oh,
yeah.
will. And so you're always looking back.
Back.
And so one could say there's a value to the precautionary principle if there is doubt, but some evidence, such as the National Academies, having said any radiation, there is no safe dose,
Right.
that it is a reasonable proposition to say, then don't do it. You've got alternatives. That's the main thing. You have a very good alternative to follow the example of Vermont and send it to Texas, where you were sending tons of stuff already and will be sending everything but the spent fuel and the greater than Class C waste to Texas. And at the same time, Holtec, the company that owns Pilgrim, hopes to get a license for an interim spent fuel storage site just in the next county to the low-level waste site in Texas, in New Mexico. And so if it's all right to send the nation's spent fuel,
Yep.
then what's your problem? You know, is there a problem of equity, social justice? There are more Native Americans in Plymouth County than there are in that county. There are more people below the poverty line around Pilgrim in Plymouth County than there are in Aberdeen County out in Texas. So that doesn't hold up either.
No, it seems like they're trying to spend
it the
as little
cheapest,
money as,
quickest.
yeah,
Yeah.
spend as little money as
They're in
possible.
business to make money.
Regardless.
Exactly, regardless.
Brian, do you have
What?
anything?
Yes, a couple of questions. Well, one is, at the rate law firm fees are going, I wonder how cost-effective it really is to fight this, as opposed to just put them in tank cars and ship it away. Although I do have a question, when it goes to Texas, what happens? What happens to the materials when it goes to Texas?
It's mixed with clay.
Okay, so we're not moving this issue to someone else's doorstep. In other words, it's not going to be evaporated somewhere else, right?
Yeah, we are moving it to
Well, no,
Texas
but
because they want it.
But not this issue. We're not evaporating it elsewhere, right?
No. Once it gets there, they mix it with clay so they can bury it as solid.
Okay. And the other question I have is, as you mentioned earlier and is written in the draft letter, Pilgrim has already evaporated 200,000 gallons. So is it our position, because this will be our position if we sign it, right? Is it our position that evaporation is unlawful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So would it make sense in that case then, in addition to saying, dear Commonwealth, please have Holtec stop this, is there something in the way of remedies or remediation or something that we should be asking for the 200,000 gallons that has already been released to the atmosphere?
First thing is that, as I understand it, the actual total evaporated since the mid-2019 is now about 1.2 million. It's not just the 200,000 is only since the beginning of '22. This stuff just naturally evaporates and always has and always will. And it started before Holtec bought it, but they've evaporated 1 million, as I asked them at the last meeting, between when they bought it and the beginning of 2022. So it's clearly evaporating. In terms of going after something, the problem, I think, always comes down on how do you prove damages.
Yep.
Injunctive relief for the potential strikes me as something much more likely to succeed than actually coming up with a dollar sign for damages that I see as an horrendous, non-ending fight.
If we say then that, notwithstanding the fact that millions of gallons have already been evaporated over the last 40-something years, right, that, doesn't that harm our position to say, well, but it's really this next 900 that's going to affect us the most?
I think it's probably true that we have seen more than the next 900 is going to give us. But one of the nice things about the two acts that they used, DEP used one, could use another, is there's no de minimis exception. There's no de minimis exception in the Ocean Sanctuary Act. There's no de minimis exception in the Endangered Species Act. And it wasn't until Holtec signed the settlement agreement that they expressly agreed to comply with state law, which puts us in a quite different situation than what we were in 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Or preemption.
They also agreed they would not raise preemption as a defense that they don't have to comply with the settlement agreement.
Okay.
God knows what lawyer was advised them to say either.
And now there's a process that can be followed. You can ship it to
Yes.
Texas, and, that may be, I don't know how long that's been available.
It's always been something on the table. They complained it was going to cost them $20 million to do so. Do I remember that number correctly? Yeah. To do so, my guess is that's an inflated number. It also has never been compared to the costs of their other alternatives.
Yeah.
And since I expect them to make the better part of $1 billion profit, I'm not really feeling sorry for them.
So we're saying that the reason evaporating it now would be improper, even though it's been going on for years, is that the settlement agreement compelled them to comply with state law.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, are
Thank
we
you.
good? Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome, thank you.
All right, let's have a,
Thank you.
oh, what? Oh.
Hey, Ben.
And thank you, Ben, too.
Thank you, Ben. I move that the Select Board execute a letter to Governor Healy et al. Regarding the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station Holtec's evaporation of wastewater as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Thank you.
you. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Nancy, I assume you're going to put this on our letterhead and,
Yes, I was just waiting to see if anybody had any changes, and we just got this, so I'll put it on my
Yeah.
head.
We'll see you in a few days.
Yeah.
Meeting.
yes.
Thank you for all your hard
I
work.
know, really.
Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yep, see you all on Saturday. I am just trying to get back to where we were because it was on two different emails.
Announcements.
I think we're
My report.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I forgot the most
Town-
important part.
town manager's
Town
report.
left
Manager's
out.
report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two quick updates for you. The first is on Wadsworth Athletic Field. Last week or this week, you may have seen that there was excavation activity at Wadsworth Field. As you may also know, the leaching field for the shared system serving a number of homes in that area is the entire Wadsworth Field itself. Excuse me. Our water department recently noticed a consistently wet area along the third baseline and home plate, and their initial concern was that the situation may have been caused by failure of the shared leaching field. As a precautionary measure, the field was temporarily closed and access was limited to staff assessing the situation. The water department staff dug a trench to inspect the system, and thankfully the reason for the ponding water was a result of the test holes in the end caps having not been plugged when the system was initially installed. As a result, the DPW staff dug up all the 28 end caps, and they have now been replaced. Next week, Rosano Davis Sanitary Pumping Incorporated will be jetting out the 2-inch PVC lines as part of a preventative maintenance to the system. The field will remain closed until such time that the site has been properly dried and the area is regroomed to playable condition, which should be in a couple of weeks, barring the weather, of course. Recreation Director Steve Studley was advised of this situation, and through him, the youth programs who use the field were also notified as well. My sincerest thanks go to the DPW and Water Department staff who successfully addressed this situation so quickly, and our health agent, Tracy Mayo, and the assistant health agent, Lauren Hachey, both of who helped provide input and guidance from the Board of Health perspective, and to Steve Studley for coordinating the communication efforts to the youth programs.
Randy, who owns that system, the town?
Yes,
Who installed it?
I don't know,
Do we know when it was installed?
30 years ago.
So,
We can't go after those guys for not doing a
No,
proper
it's
job.
long gone.
Long gone.
20 years ago, 25 years. It's ancient. Emergency Management Performance Grant. Last week, Fire Chief Rob Reardon let me know that the town has been awarded an Emergency Management Performance Grant that was prepared and submitted by Deputy Fire Chief Brian Monahan. This program provides state, local, tribal, and territorial emergency management agencies with the resources required for implementation of the National Preparedness System and works toward the national preparedness goal of a secure and resilient nation. The EPMG's allowable costs support efforts to build and sustain core capabilities across the prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery mission areas. Through this program, the town was able to receive grant funding in the amount of $4,600 for 12 new high-visibility barricades for the DPW to use during the storms. Also, Duxbury Emergency Management was able to secure 2 medical cots for the town's emergency shelter. The cots were in addition to the barricades for both the fire department and DPW, and we now have 22 barricades in total. Though the funding amount may seem small, it's the overall concept here that is huge, which is one of teamwork, which is exhibited here in Duxbury on a regular basis. As Deputy Chief Monahan stated, our DPW is always an asset to emergency management, and I'm glad we were able to share the supplies with them. And that's what I got. See you all on Saturday.
Bright and early.
Okay,
Thank you.
Do we have a meeting before?
Yes, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
And there will be actionable items, reconsidering some votes on some positions of articles. Simple stuff, though.
Okay, 8 o'clock in the cafeteria.
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
All right, announcements, Mr. Clerk.
Yes. First one, the number 1 annual special town meeting. Reminder that the annual and special town meeting will be held on Saturday, March 9th, 2024, beginning at 9 a.m. in the Performing Arts Center, 73 Alden Street. Check-in begins at 8 a.m. and lunch will be served cash only. And I hope they got pulled pork on the menu because it's really quite good. 2, presidential primary. Presidential primary voting will be on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024 at the Lieutenant Timothy Steele Building, 130 St. George Street, Duxbury, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. 3, 2024 beach and transfer station stickers. New 2024 beach and transfer station stickers effective April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025 are available to purchase. Stickers can be purchased online by visiting www.town.duxbury.ma.us and clicking the link to purchase under the Services tab on the home page, by calling City Hall Systems at 508-381-5455, or by mailing in or dropping off an application and supporting documents to Stickers Department, Duxbury Town Hall, 878 Tremont Street, Duxbury, MA 02332. Applications are available on the town website and inside the lobby of the town hall for your convenience. 4, 2024 dog licenses are available. Reminder, all dogs over the age of 6 months must be licensed annually. There will be a late fee in the amount of $25 assessed for each unlicensed dog as of April 1st. 5, next regularly scheduled select board meeting will be on Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. There'll be no meeting on March 11th, which is reserved should the annual town meeting continue.
That's because of my birthday.
Is that your birthday?
And because of Mike's birthday.
Thank you. Thank you for that amendment,
You're right.
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.